I have this very vivid memory from when I was a kid, being at church, playing on the playground after worship was over. And this father came to pick up his kid, and the kid did not want to leave the playground. And the dad's like, come on, let's go, let's go. And the kid's like sliding down the slide, doing all these other things. And finally, when the father gets the kid out the playground gate, he said something along the lines of, it's such a struggle to get you ready to come to church, and you never want to go. But when we get here, you have such a good time, and then you never want to leave. And I always thought that was kind of funny. That wasn't true for me when I was a little kid. I really didn't like church. I didn't want to be there. My parents also struggled to get me ready to go to church. In fact, we would have this competition between me and my dad to see who could get ready and be in the car first. One week I got up early and was ready to go and was jumping and getting things going and actually went out to the car and then just sat in the car for like 5 minutes waiting for my parents. They were wondering where I was, and I was like, no, I won the competition. So for me, why do I go to church? Well, when I was a kid, the reason was because my parents made me. Good morning. I think this is episode 7 in our series on why do you go to church. That was the last question and really the main question that Helen asked. If you haven't seen that first video or any of the others, there's a link somewhere in the description below to that playlist. But Helen asked this question, why do you go to church? And for all the questions she asked, there's sort of an implied right answer, a should. Why should we worship? How should we show our devotion to God? But really this question, why do you go to church? It's a personal one. And so I can't give you an answer that applies to everyone. I can tell you why I go to church. I told you about my reasoning as a child, and I think that's true for a lot of kids. They go because their parents make them. But our reasons change throughout our lifetime, and I think that's a good thing. So for me, why do I go to church? Well, when I was a teenager, I went for lunch. Every Sunday after worship, we'd go out to eat at a restaurant called Fuddruckers, and they had really good hamburgers and fries, and I loved it because they had like 19 different sauces. And so I would get up and I'd go to church with my mom because I knew that I would get a hamburger after church. But at some point, that began to change. In fact, it was through a confirmation class. It was, I think, my 10th grade year of high school. And my mom made this bargain with me. She said if I could do this confirmation class, afterwards I would get to go on this amazing trip to Europe in the summer after 10th grade. So I started the confirmation class, and I had such a great time. I was learning so much. I developed a really good relationship with my youth pastor, and my reason for going began to shift. And I no longer went because my mom made me. I went because I wanted to be there. I found myself signing up to go on a summer mission trip, a summer trip to Montreat. And I didn't really look at the calendar. I sort of knew, but the trip that I had wanted to go on, that my mom bribed me with to Europe, was the same time as that trip to Montreat. And so I ended up not going to Europe, but going to this trip, this church camp with my youth group. And it was an amazing experience. And that was sort of the moment for me when I started going to church because I wanted to be there. And I guess now I'm a pastor, and I guess you could say the reason I go to church is because they pay me. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. I love being a pastor, but I love being a part of a worshiping community. I love getting to see how worship inspires people to live their lives differently throughout the week. I love seeing how people live out their faith. And I would love all of those things even if being a pastor wasn't my profession. So why do you go to church? That's what I want to know. So send me a note, drop me a line. Next video will be all about the reasons that you go to church. All right, take care.